What's up, YouTube? So, in this video, I'm going to be ranking my top 10 running back for the 2022 NFL draft class. So, let's go ahead and get right into it. I have done videos on all these guys by the time this comes out. So, go ahead and check that out if you want to watch the individual videos. But I will be going over my thoughts on these players right now as well. So, anyway, number 10 for me is Damian Pierce, running back from Florida. He is 5'10 and 215 pounds. He has no fumble issues to really speak of. He's actually a really solid blocker, too. Plays with great contact balance. He always tries to fight for extra yards. He's definitely got some wiggle to him. I'd say he probably has above average agility and feet. His acceleration isn't amazing, but I think his long speed is more than enough to get the job done. I also just see him as a really, really solid receiving back. He actually lines up at receiver at times. And actually for a running back, his route running is actually really, really good. He's shown the ability to lead block very well. His vision as a runner can be a little bit inconsistent, but I see him mostly as a third down blocking and receiving back anyway. I just think that's where his role fits at the NFL level, so that's where I would probably try to use him. So let's move forward to number 9, Brian Robinson Jr., running back from Alabama. So he's 6'1 and 225 pounds. One thing I noticed right away when I was watching him is that when he's blocking, he does a very good job of getting out of his quarterback's lap, which is something I love from running backs. What that means is basically you're not sticking right next to the quarterback the whole play. He looks for work and gets out of the way. Sometimes the running back can kind of get in the way of the quarterback. So I'm glad he is good about doing that. And overall, he's actually a pretty good blocker in general. But I do think he needs to finish his blocks a little bit better. He does kind of let up when he shouldn't. And I do think he has enough wiggle to him and enough speed to get the job done, but it is definitely not at the elite level that you're looking for either of those things. Doesn't have a fumble issue, really. One thing I like is that when he's running routes and his quarterback starts to scramble, he's very good about coming back to the ball. And overall, he's a pretty good receiver out of the backfield. He has experience lining up at fullback if you need him to in certain packages. He can definitely lead block pretty decently. Vision is definitely solid. I think he is a really solid 4th, 5th round pick, which is also where I think Damian Pierce goes, by the way. I forgot to mention that. I just don't think that Brian Robinson has the athleticism that some of the other running backs I'm going to mention have, and that's kind of what brings him down to where he is. So let's move on. Hassan Haskins, running back from Michigan, as you can see in stiff arming this Ohio State player. He is 6'1 and 220 pounds. No fumbles, which is great. Really, really solid burst. As you can see, he has a pretty solid stiff arm. Really good contact balance. Always finds a way to fall forward. Keeps his feet moving through contact. And he has some power to him, but he doesn't run with a whole lot of violence, which is something I really do like in a power back. But that's okay. He's actually a pretty okay blocker too, which is good. He follows his blocks well. He's a really decent one-cut, north-south back with some wiggle to him, but he is just a really good high-effort player. He doesn't have much in the way of production as far as in the receiving game goes, but he does show flashes of being able to do it. Michigan just didn't use him in that way. He doesn't have the long speed that you're really looking for, and he isn't super agile, but like I said, he does have some wiggle to him. But just like Brian Robinson, I think that his lack of athleticism kind of limits him. And honestly, if you want to put Brian Robinson over him, I think you can. I had a hard time determining between the two of them. I think Brian Robinson edges it out a little bit as a receiving back, but I think Hassan Haskins is a slightly better runner because I just think he's a little bit more powerful. So take that as you will. For me, they were pretty close. Moving forward to number 7, Kyren Williams, running back from Notre Dame. So he's 5'9 and 199 pounds. I'll say 200. One thing I will say is I'd like him to bring his fumble numbers down. That is definitely something I did notice that is kind of an issue. Like Brian Robinson, he does a good job of getting out of his quarterback's lap when he's blocking, which is great. Really solid spin move and stiff arm. He finds a way to fall forward consistently. Very good contact balance. Really solid receiving target. He doesn't go down easy. Very slippery, hard to tackle. Will absolutely get the dirty yards, even if he is a smaller running back. Very quick feet, elusive, very good vision, solid burst to him. You definitely want to try to get him into open space and let him miss. Let him make people miss. Like give him some yards after catch opportunities coming out of the backfield. And I think he has enough speed to get the job done, but it definitely isn't at the elite level. That's for sure. So yeah. Moving on to number 6, C.J. Verdell, running back out of Oregon. So he's 5'8" and 211 pounds. And he will definitely lower his shoulder into somebody, and he absolutely does run with some violence, which is something I love in a powerful running back. Just running with that anger that he does, and I love it. Really solid burst. He has true home run speed for sure. He also lines up at receiver sometimes, which is something that you can use. I also think that he runs better out of the shotgun than inline. So if you're a team that likes to throw the ball a lot, like if you'd like to do a lot of spread things, this could be a good running back for you because he does run better out of the shotgun. Very explosive player, like I said, very good burst. Keeps his feet moving through contact, good balance, good vision. I do think he could be a little bit more patient in his runs. Sometimes he jumps the gun and doesn't let the gaps develop as well as he could. So that is something I'd like to see him work on. But I also think he holds on to the ball very well, and I just think he's a really, really talented player. I do think he could be a better blocker. That is one area where I think he could improve. But overall, I really do like him a lot. Moving on to my number 5 running back, Jerome Ford, running back from Cincinnati. He's 5'11" and 220 pounds. He did have 3 fumbles this year, which is something I do want to see him clean up a little bit. I'd say he's a willing blocker, but not necessarily great at it. But he definitely does show like tenacity at trying to do it. He just doesn't have much in the way of technique yet. I think he's also a pretty solid receiver out of the backfield too. Keeps his feet moving through contact. Really solid vision. Good feet. Decently elusive. A lot of burst and speed for his size. Runs really, really hard. Has some anger to him. And he's also willing to take what he's given. Like, he's not going to dance around trying to do too much and end up hurting you and going backwards. Like, he will take what is given to him, which is something I like. Really good contact balance. And he has, like, true, like, burner speed. Like, if he gets in open space, he's gone. And he's not getting caught from behind much at all. So, I see him, like, as a late second rounder. Probably maybe somewhere in the third. Everybody else I've been talking about has been like either third or fourth round, unless I said otherwise. All right, so moving forward, we've got James Cook from Georgia. I think he might be the smallest on this list. He's 5'11" and 190 pounds, so that will deter some teams. But I am not one of them. I love this dude. He is a real threat with his burst and absolutely dangerous speed. And actually, for his size, he's actually a pretty decent blocker. And he's also not afraid to get the dirty yards. He's not necessarily powerful with that 190-pound frame, but he is willing to get those dirty yards. Doesn't fumble at all. Really, really solid receiving threat out of the backfield and out wide. He's very good at getting in open space. He can definitely make people miss. Has a great juke, spin, all of it. He gives solid head fakes. One thing I will say, though, is he hasn't really been a bell cow back at any point in his career where he's just getting a lot of carries, which there are good and bad things that come with that. Obviously, the bad is that, he hasn't been a bell cow back before, so if you're planning on running the ball with him a lot, he doesn't have experience dealing with that workload. But also, that means he hasn't taken the hits that a college bell cow back has taken. So take that as you will. As I mentioned before, and you're not expecting it with this type of running back, he isn't the most powerful guy in the world. So that is a thing. Also, if you look at his wrist in the picture, that is a that is a quarterback wristband. So he is responsible for calling some things. So he is a more intelligent running back than some of the others too. Some pretty good IQ. So take that as you will as well. And he also shows very solid vision and patience. I see him as like a really solid, probably mid-second round guy. Might fall to the third, just because running back value. But I like him a lot. Moving on to number 3, Isaiah Spiller. I know some people have this guy as their number 1. I'll kind of get into why I don't. He gets out of his quarterback's lap well. I've mentioned that with a few players. Solid blocker, has very good acceleration, shows ability in the receiving game, but I think he could have been utilized a little bit more. His production could have been a little bit better in this area. Good footwork, has some wiggle to him that can make guys miss, but not super agile. Very physical runner, very good vision, a solid one cut back. That if you just let him just run north-south, he will definitely be a solid runner for you. He has enough speed to get the job done, but he doesn't have like true elite speed. I do like him a lot, don't get me wrong. One thing that does hold him back, though, is that he does have kind of a significant fumbling issue. Just against Mississippi State alone, he had 2 fumbles just in that game, and he has more fumbles than I'm comfortable with just in general. So that is kind of what holds him back as far as being the number 1 or even 2 guy. So, yeah, let's move on to number 2. Bresean Hall, who I know a lot of people have as their number 1 runner. And I think you guys know who my number 1 runner is at this point. But we'll get there. So I do like him. Don't get me wrong. I love all 3. Actually, I like all these guys, but I think the top 5 are all really, really solid players that can come in and start for you right away. Also, I think Isaiah Spiller is like a mid-day 2 guy. I mean, a mid-second round guy as well. And I think Bresean Hall and my last guy are all in that range. I wouldn't want to draft any of these guys in the first. But anyway, Bresean Hall is 6'1" at 220 pounds. He's a decent blocker. Pretty patient runner, which is great, but mostly just a north-south runner. Finds a way to fall forward consistently. Has some wiggle to him, but not super elusive. Good contact balance. Strong due to his size, but not necessarily that powerful. But he is hard to tackle just because of his size. Iowa State has had a bunch of running backs who can play very well. Has some pretty solid long speed, but again, not elite. He does have a tendency to miss lanes sometimes, though. Sometimes his vision can be a little bit inconsistent, which is what kind of holds him back from being number 1 for me. He has shown the ability to catch the football well out of the backfield. His acceleration is kind of average to me for a running back. Also, one thing I do like is that he doesn't really have much of a fumbling issue, which is great. So, anyway, after seeing Bresean Hall number 2, I'm sure you guys know, for me, Kenneth Walker is number 1. He is from Michigan State. He is 5'10" and 210 pounds, so a little bit of a smaller running back. That's okay. Very, very explosive cuts, fantastic contact balance, very elusive back. No fumble issues to speak of. Willing blocker, but I think he could improve in this area. Very good acceleration. And even though he is a little bit smaller than Bresean Hall, he's not actually that much smaller than Isaiah Spiller, but he actually is pretty physical for his size. He changes his run angle without having to slow down, which is great. Really solid instincts and vision, elite level elusiveness, solid stiff arm, very decisive running back. He doesn't sit there and wait too long and have the play break down. He's decisive and he'll just go the second he sees a gap. He trusts his eyes. He shows flashes as a receiver, but I think he needs a little bit more production in this regard. Shows some body control that needs to be implemented more for sure in the receiving game. Like, he actually seems like an okay route runner. And like I said, that body control is an elite trait even for receivers to have. And he definitely shows flashes of that. He just hasn't had the opportunity to use it as much as I want him to be. But he has, like, actual dangerous speed. Like, not Tyreek Hill level, of course, but he has, like, some real speed to him. I see him as, like, a solid early to mid second round guy. Like I said, I wouldn't want to draft any of these guys in the first, but I really, really like him in the early to mid second. And like I said, I like all these guys, but Kenneth Walker just doesn't really have that one thing that's gonna hinder him for me, like some of the others. Like Bresean Hall, like I said, I do have questions about his vision. Isaiah Spiller has some fumble concerns. Kenneth Walker just needs to get more production in the receiving game, but he definitely shows flashes of being very, very good at it. And his blocking could improve, but that's not why you draft a running back. Like, that's a bonus if he's really good at blocking. You don't want him to be horrible, but which I don't think he is. But I think all these guys can be top guys. And honestly, if you're looking for more of a power back and you like Bresean Hall over Kenneth Walker, I'm not going to hate you for that. Like, in last year's draft class, I was looking for a power back, so I might have been with you. Like, as far as who I would want to draft. But who I think is better, I think Kenneth Walker is the better player. So, yeah. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. If you'd like it, appreciate hitting that like button. If you have any questions or comments in the comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.